Hello everybody. In this video, we will try to understand some more interesting things about Purvaphalguni Nakshatra. So basically, Sun and Venus are the two planets related to this nakshatra, as Venus is the main planetary ruler of this nakshatra, and as it is lying in the sign of Leo, Sun is going to be the sign ruler for this particular nakshatra. And Venus involvement with this nakshatra is very important because this nakshatra is very creative. Procreation is the main theme of this nakshatra, and that is just because of Venus. And if you observe, Venus relates to the force. It is the main force which is actually responsible for male female attraction. So if you find, let us say, a male and female have some attraction to each other, that attraction energy in the world is because of the planet Venus. Now, when there is an attraction, when there is a love, right, between a male and female, when you have love at one side, the other side of the coin, if you observe, there is ego, right? So ego and love, so finding the balance between ego and love is very important. But if you observe this particular nakshatra, why we're talking about love and ego, right? Because Sun represents ego and Venus represents love. So you need to understand now which is going to be very important for this nakshatra. Yes, they give importance to the attraction, amusement, enjoyment, and the sexual love. Of course, they give a lot of importance, but when there is a need of some self-sacrifice, they may sacrifice, they may not be able to sacrifice the self, right? So they always have a struggle between finding the balance among love, ego, and harmony. And you can understand here, Venusian energy is much stronger in comparison to the solar energy, because Venus is the main ruler of this nakshatra, whereas Sun is the sign ruler of this nakshatra. So Venusian abilities would go a bit high, but even Venus doesn't want, even Venus is not very comfortable with the idea of losing oneself to another. Right? Even Venus of course is responsible for attraction and love, but it is also not interested in losing self and giving more importance to love. Right? So Sun and Venus are basically natural enemies. That makes this nakshatra a bit volatile and turbulent. And the decision to be made here is how much of the self should be sacrificed in order for love and harmony to find their right place, the rightful place. So creativity is the only common meeting point between Venus and Sun, because both are creative planets. Sun is the head of this creative area, Leo. Leo is the more creative area. If you observe a very prominent actor, you can find some planets in Leo. Of course, Rohini is another planet for artists and all. Even there are some other nakshatras, but mainly this particular area, Leo, is very much important for creative arts. And Venus is also a very creative planet. So the common point between Venus and Sun here is the creative power. Other than that, sacrificing self for getting love is not so suitable for this nakshatra. And one more important thing is Sun and Venus conjunction. If you find in any horoscope that carries similar energy to the of this nakshatra, and one more important thing is Sun, Mars, and Venus. These three planets work well in this particular nakshatra, because when Sun is present in Leo, it is, of course, it is its own sign and Mula Trikona sign, so it can give some good results. And Mars is going to elevate the passionate love when it is present in this nakshatra, and Venus, of course, when it is present here, it is going to elevate the creative power of the native. And its sexual animal is rat. So you can see the sexual nature of this nakshatra is very much similar to Magha, but you just observe rats are highly reproductive animals, and they produce scores of progeny. So there are always chances for this nakshatra, you know, to behave like a rat in the activity of, in when there is a creative activity or sexual activity. But it is most compatible with Magha generally, as far as this sexual activity is concerned. And it relates to the masculine creative spark, which touches upon the passive feminine principle, and that is where its creative power generates. And another important thing is, if you observe all the Puranic stories about this particular nakshatra, they talk about Shiva's phallus, right? And one of the stories is saying the 7 sages living in Himalayan pine forest in Krita Yuga, that is the golden age, actually they are tormented by Shiva, who visits their hermitage in a wild nagged form, and all the women folk get seduced by his erect hanging phallus. And the sages in their, they are actually, they felt it bad, right? Shiva coming naked, and then the women folk present there seeing Shiva's phallus and being seduced. This whole process, the sages found it very, very, a bit objectionable act. They found it, right? So Shiva respects their wishes, and the 7 sages, of course, they got a bit, they are not comfortable, and Shiva respects their wishes and lets the phallus is fallen off. And then, as soon as this particular thing happens, the whole balance of the universe gets unsettled, and Brahma came there, and Brahma intervenes and asks the sages to worship the linga, that is the phallus of Shiva. And then, out of their foolishness, they did this one, the sages, and they realized it, and Shiva, pleased by their devotion and worship, of course, takes on his linga form again, and the universal balance is restored. So Shiva took his phallus back, and then the universe balance is restored. So this particular nakshatra relates to the bhakti path, where the devotee likes to see the supreme governing entity as the beloved. So in this nakshatra, the main focus is on love, right? So here you can understand the figures like Suradas, Mirabai. These are all who saw Krishna as a playmate and beloved, right? So that particular energy you can observe in this particular nakshatra. And this nakshatra is mainly related to the sage Atri. So while discussing Rohini nakshatra also, we talked about sage Atri. Atri means one who consumes, right? So Atri is one of the 7 celestial sages who are looking after our the affairs of our galaxy. And you can see the sage Atri seems to have two opposing tendencies, creative and dissoluting, both. So along with Rohini, this is the nakshatra relates to the creative aspect of this sage. And worship of Lakshmi and other goddesses related to creativity and prosperity, worship of all fertility goddesses, worship of Shiva through his Shivalingam are all good ways to harness the creative potential of this particular nakshatra. And when you're suffering from bad effects of this nakshatra, the root mantra for this one is Om Cham. So when you chant this mantra every day 108 times, you can get rid of the the negative effects of this particular nakshatra, and who are actually benefiting from the positive effects of this nakshatra can also chant this particular root mantra Om Cham every day 108 times. And for these people, the variegated colors and pastel shades, especially yellows, pinks and whites, they give some kind of beneficial things in their life. So better they wear this kind of colors, especially the people who are benefiting from this nakshatra, not the people who are having some malefic effects because of this nakshatra, right? So predominantly feminine designs and accessories are good, because this nakshatra is more related to beauty, attraction, uh, also appearing very beautiful and getting appreciation from others. And also when they don't get appreciation from others because of their beauty, they get frustrated and they can become cruel also sometimes. And they should use the directions associated with this nakshatra as we discussed in our previous video. And Madonna, the famous pop star, has her moon and ascendant in this particular nakshatra. So if you walk through her life, she is a best example, showing the behavior and qualities of this nakshatra throughout her life. And even she expressed this kind of behavior and qualities through her music throughout her life. And she is profited basically utilizing the sexual aspect of this nakshatra as well. And according to Varaha Mihira, those having moon in this particular nakshatra, generally they're generous in bestowing liberal gifts, have sweet speech and pleasing manners. Also, they have a habit of wandering and often serve the government in one way or the other, because sun being the ruler of this particular, the sign ruler of this nakshatra. So they have attached with some government jobs as well. Thanks for watching this video. This is the end final part of this nakshatra. Of course, if I find anything great things about this nakshatra, I'll post another video. Thank you.